The drama surrounding the 2026 World Cup is not simply about football. It is about legacy, redemption, history, and the weight of an entire nation's identity carried across 6 weeks of competition on 3 continents. 48 teams, 104 matches, 3 host nations, and 1 trophy lifted in New York on July 19th. The bookmakers have run their models. The analysts have studied the squads, the form, the coaching, the history. And when all of that work is finished, 5 nations stand clearly above the rest. 5 teams with a genuine defensible case for lifting that trophy. Here is who they are, why they believe, and the one question none of them can fully answer: who actually handles the pressure when it matters most? Starting at number 5, Argentina. In Qatar in 2022, Argentina produced one of the greatest World Cup campaigns the tournament has ever witnessed. The final against France, 3 all after extra time decided on penalties, is already considered among the greatest matches in football history. And at the center of everything stood Lionel Messi, 35 years old finally, after 4 previous attempts, a World Cup winner. Those images of Messi holding that trophy are burned permanently into the sport's collective memory. But this is 2026, and the question is not whether Argentina were great. They were. The question is whether they can do it again with a 38-year-old Messi who has not played a full competitive season since leaving PSG. Angel Di Maria, the man who scored that opening goal in the Qatar final, has retired from international football. The squad that won is older, slower, and less certain than it was 4 years ago. And yet the core remains extraordinary. Julian Alvarez at 24 is one of the finest center forwards in Europe at the absolute peak of his powers. Enzo Fernandez and Alexis Mac Allister form one of the most technically gifted midfield partnerships at this tournament. Christian Romero, when fit, ranks among the best center backs in the Premier League. And coach Lionel Scaloni has won 2 Copa Americas and a World Cup, bringing tactical flexibility and the specific gift of knowing exactly how to manage Messi's minutes to keep him sharp for the moments that define tournaments. As ESPN analyst Julian Lorenz noted, Argentina will not arrive as favorites, but you never count out a team with Messi when the knockout rounds begin. No country has won back-to-back World Cups since Brazil in 1958 and 1962. The history is against them. But history also said Messi would never win a World Cup, and then he did. Number 4, Brazil. 5 World Cup titles, more than any nation in history, and yet not a single one since 2002. 24 years of accumulated hurt for a country that does not treat football as a sport, but as a national identity. This time something is genuinely different. Carlo Ancelotti, the most decorated club manager in the history of European football and a 5-time Champions League winner, took charge of Brazil in 2024, and immediately the team began looking more organized, more defensively structured, more like a cohesive unit rather than a collection of brilliant individuals operating without a shared system. In qualification, Brazil finished comfortably at the top of their group with 8 wins from 12 matches. The performances were not always beautiful, but they were effective. And in tournament football, effective consistently beats beautiful. The attack is where Brazil make eyes light up across the planet. Vinicius Jr. on his best days is arguably the most dangerous attacking player in world football. Explosive pace, terrifying skill, and the ability to manufacture something from nothing that very few players alive can match. The wide-open spaces of American stadiums suit his style almost perfectly. Rafinha provides balance on the opposite flank with 12 goals for Barcelona last season. In goal, Alisson Becker at 32 remains among the best in the world. The concern lies in defensive depth at the wing-back positions, and the Neymar question remains genuinely unanswered. The 32-year-old has barely played competitive football since October 2023. If he arrives at even 70% of his ability, he transforms this Brazil team in ways no one else in the squad can. If he does not, Brazil play without their most naturally gifted creator. 5 World Cups, the world's most iconic yellow shirt, and Ancelotti finally in charge. Brazil have not come to participate. They have come to end a 24-year wait. Number 3, Portugal. 41 years old. Let that settle for a moment. Cristiano Ronaldo, 5 Ballon d'Or awards, the all-time leading scorer in international football history. The man who has defined this sport across 2 full decades is walking out at his 6th World Cup. No outfield player in the history of the game has ever done that. Across a career of unimaginable achievement, Champions Leagues, league titles across 4 countries, records that may genuinely never be broken, there is one trophy that has always escaped him. The World Cup. Portugal have never won it. Their greatest moment came 60 years ago in 1966 with Eusebio's third-place finish at Wembley. And here is what makes 2026 fundamentally different from every previous attempt. This Portugal squad is no longer built around Ronaldo, and that paradoxically might be precisely what sets them free. Bruno Fernandes has recorded 30 assists in his last 40 matches for Portugal. João Neves at 20 is described by coaches across Europe as potentially one of the best players of his generation. Bernardo Silva brings a decade of elite consistency from Manchester City. Ruben Dias remains one of the world's finest center backs. Portugal won the Nations League in June 2025, beating Germany in the semi-finals, and Spain, the best team in Europe, on penalties in the final. In World Cup qualification, they topped their group with 13 points, conceding only twice. The defensive solidity that undermined previous generations is now present. But the question that hangs over everything remains unchanged. Can Portugal handle the knockout pressure when the tournament reaches its decisive stages? The quarterfinal has been their ceiling for too long. And yet they beat Spain to win the Nations League. They beat Germany to get there. The evidence is building that Roberto Martinez has found a way to make this generation perform when it matters most. One more thing that cannot go unmentioned. In July 2025, Portugal lost Diogo Jota. The Liverpool forward, one of the most important players in the squad, passed away in a tragic accident. The 2026 World Cup will be played without him, and that grief will be present throughout, in the changing room, in the warm-ups, in the quiet moments before the biggest games. Sometimes grief becomes the most powerful motivation of all. Ronaldo is 41. This is his last World Cup. 2026 is where Portugal find out if they can finally break through the ceiling that has defined every previous generation. Number 2, Spain. If you ask any football analyst right now which team plays the best football in the world, most of them say Spain without significant hesitation, and the numbers support the answer completely. Spain won Euro 2024 without conceding more than one goal in any match on the route to the final, defeating Croatia, Italy, Germany, and France along the way, 4 of the finest teams in Europe, playing football that made opponents look confused, disorganized, and structurally helpless. In World Cup qualification, they produced 10 wins from 10 matches, scoring 36 goals and conceding just 4. The best qualification record in Europe. Lamine Yamal was 16 when Spain won the Euros. By the time this World Cup final is played in New York, he will be 18 years old. And already right now, he is being described by coaches, analysts, and players across the continent as potentially the best player in the world. The dribbling at pace is different from anything else in the current game. The composure in enormous moments, a European Championship semi-final goal in the 91st minute at 16, is not simply impressive. It is extraordinary. Nico Williams on the opposite flank gives Spain the most exciting wide partnership at this tournament. In midfield, Rodri, Ballon d'Or winner in 2024, controls games not through spectacular moments, but through complete positional perfection. When Rodri plays, Spain rarely lose. It is almost precisely that simple. The genuine concern is the striker position. Spain's false 9 system creates consistent confusion for opponents, but relies on wide players and midfielders for goals, which on a difficult night in a knockout game against a disciplined defensive structure can represent a real vulnerability. Spain have not appeared to care about vulnerabilities for 2 years. They have simply kept winning. No Spanish team has ever won consecutive major tournaments. But Yamal is 18, Pedri is 22, Williams is 22. This generation is only beginning. Number 1, France. And when you examine their squad from goalkeeper to striker, it is genuinely difficult to construct a compelling argument against them. France won the World Cup in 1998 and 2018. In Qatar 2022, they reached the final, led 3-2 in extra time, and appeared on course to become the first back-to-back champions in 60 years. Argentina came back. Mbappé scored a hat-trick in defeat. France went home knowing they were arguably the second-best team at the tournament, and certainly the most devastating on their best nights. Now it is 2026, and France are the most complete squad in world football by the assessment of bookmakers and analysts in near-unanimous agreement. Kylian Mbappé at 27. Real Madrid's leading scorer in history at a historically young age, the player who score. Eat a World Cup final hat-trick at 23, remains by most credible measures the most complete forward on the planet. His pace is unmatched. His finishing with both feet is clinical. His capacity to produce something definitive in moments of maximum pressure separates him from almost everyone else in this sport. But it is France's depth that makes him truly terrifying for opponents. Ousmane Dembélé with 14 goals and 17 assists last season for PSG. Michael Olise from Bayern Munich as the wild card whose best football at a major tournament could make France genuinely unstoppable. Eduardo Camavinga and Adrien Rabiot in midfield. Aurelien Tchouameni providing the defensive base. Jules Koundé at right back. William Saliba and Dayot Upamecano at center back. Mike Maignan, 2 consecutive seasons among the best goalkeepers in Europe, now among the top 5 in the world. This squad is so deep that an injury to one key player does not reshape the team. It creates an opportunity for someone else. Didier Deschamps, their manager since 2012, the man who won the World Cup as a player in 1998 and as a manager in 2018, has never been interested in beautiful football. He chases trophies. His record suggests he knows precisely how to find them. The concerns are real. France have underperformed at Euro 2020 and Euro 2024. The team can look deliberately restrained, and everything ultimately runs through Mbappé, which is extraordinary when extraordinary is what he delivers, and a potential problem when the weight of an entire nation sits on one man for 6 consecutive weeks. But France do not need to be the most exciting team at the tournament. They do not need to win every match convincingly. They just need to be standing at the end. In 2018, they did exactly that. 5 teams. 5 genuine cases. France, the most complete squad. Spain, the most exciting football. Portugal carrying Ronaldo's last chance and a nation's grief as motivation. Brazil with Ancelotti and Vinicius attempting to end 24 years of pain. Argentina with Messi chasing the one thing nobody believed he could do twice. The bookmakers have placed their bets. The analysts have delivered their verdicts. But football has always had a habit of ignoring all of that at the worst possible moment. Which team wins it? Drop your prediction in the comments below, hit that like button, and subscribe so you do not miss a single breakdown as the tournament gets closer and the drama starts building toward New York on July 19th.